that were discussed, you can just simply raise your hand and the mic will come through to you. And then please, if you can just jot down the questions. Okay, we'll start off with the gentleman who's on my left.
Check 1, 2.
Afternoon.
Afternoon.
I think this would be directed to Mr. Alred Majindu. There's a there's a paper which is presented saying that if a property is near the road, there's more value than a property which is like off-road. Sometimes people with money prefer to actually go and then stay away from the road, and those properties have got more value than a property which is just by the road where there is noise and there's no privacy. And also there was a point whereby they were saying a property which is near a sewer system has more value than a property far away from that. Sometimes people with money have their own sewer systems, wherever they are. So it's not always like that. Thank you.
Thank you. My question is directed to Mr. Shibaya. It's more or less on the same observation like the previous question that has just been asked. He spoke of a very good visionary presentation on blockchain issue. But I wanted to check from him how best he can help, because there are other stakeholders to be involved for this to be successful. How best can he help so that those bottlenecks that might come along in implementation will be taken care of?
Okay. Yes, we've got another question here.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, mine is not a question, but all the after breakfast presenters, their presentations are profound and inevitable that we really need to embrace the issue of the database. So my recommendation is our Secretary General, Mr. Mchatuta, and your team, that may be our take home for this seminar, is really to push the issue of the database as pronounced by those three presenters. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate that. Yes, ma'am. We'll start off with Masi, and then we'll come to you, ma'am. Is that okay?
I would like to thank the organizers for this conference, especially on GIS. We are actually in the process of having GIS being introduced at our workplace. And last year, we had the opportunity of having the land myriad guys from Sweden to come and train us on land management using GIS, as well as we also got some training from SEDIC in terms of GIS. So I think as a ministry, we are maybe way ahead of you guys. Oh. So when I heard that there is GIS involved in this conference, so we are actually in the step in the right direction. So kwese kunana deeds office nechi kwamurku unonzi chii kurwadziwa nako. I'm sure pretty soon it will be a thing of the past.
Yes, ma'am, you can go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much. My question is directed to Mr. Dube or Mr. Majindu. From their presentations, it seems the focus when it comes to valuation systems is on GIS, but the GIS seems to be covering more on measuring gross area instead of both gross area and lettable area. The question is, are there any other systems that are available, probably not yet in Zimbabwe, which can assist us in measuring lettable area remotely? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We've got one at the back.
Thank you so much. I think every system has got advantages and disadvantages. What are the, this one is directed to Jabulani. I want to know what are the disadvantages of the blockchain?
All right. Any other questions before we get the panel to answer? Okay, I'll start off with you. Oh, just one more at the back. I'll also, you had your hand up, sir. That's fine. Okay.
Yeah, my question is on information technology, the security of the information that we enter into those systems, whether GIS, that information is also accessed by the developers of those systems. How secure as a public organization is the information that is inputted into those systems?
All right. If you can just raise your hand so that he can see you.
Okay, thank you. My question to the presenters is that what are the opportunities in terms of maybe the research from the universities and also maybe the data that is available from the various real estate companies? Can we develop an app, for example, that will then have all this data, and as the real estate practitioners, maybe we then have access to that kind of data? Thank you.
Okay. So, I don't know, Mr. Aldridge, would you like to start by answering some of the questions? Okay.
So I'll start by answering the first question. And I think it was more of a comment. And the observation is true that we can have a property that is far away from a road, but the same property can be more expensive than a property which is closer to a road. However, for this particular exercise, it was a mass valuation exercise which generalized some of the criteria. Okay. And for the question given by my sister here, which was asking about GIS focusing more on the gross area and not on the lettable area. When you are looking on the lettable area, we are saying the area inside the building that is available for letting. Yes. So once we are inside a building, it's very difficult to implement a GIS. Because we are saying reception of a GPS inside a building is very poor. So it means it's very difficult to create maps of the inside of a building. So it means we might actually need other technologies for that. Um, I would lie. I think maybe Ms. Shibaya might assist with that. Yeah. And then if we look at the last question that we got on the opportunities from universities, I think we have heard about what is referred to as Education 5.0, where we are saying we are moving away from research-centered education towards actually creating products and innovations that can be used by industry. So the only way we can come up with these innovations is if industry approaches university. So I'll be happy if you are able to approach my department. I can certainly give you the contacts for my chairperson, and then we can work some sort of an MOU. But definitely the idea of expanding our research and producing products that can be used by industry is a very top priority for university. But it would also need the input of industry to at least approach the university and say we need A, B, C, D from you guys. And we have set up some small funds for you to be able to do that research. It can actually work. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, sir. We appreciate that. Mr. Jabulani?
Thank you so much. So I will answer the second question first. Someone asked about the disadvantages of blockchain. Like any other information platform which makes the flow of data easier, efficient, and reliable, there is bound to be a risk of exposing sensitive data which should not be known by other people. So I would encourage those that would implement blockchain to fully understand the platform they will use. For most people, they normally go for Ethereum because it's the most popular, but it might not be good in terms of sensitive data and stuff. There is a Hyperledger and Coda. They do work in a setup of a private blockchain or a permissioned blockchain where certain people are allowed to put information and view it for the right purposes to ensure integrity of the platform and system. Then the second question, and it said, how best can we help people who would want to do these things and taking into account that there are other stakeholders involved? I think the best approach to go about this is to ensure that whatever initiative you would want to embark on, you are on the same platform with the regulator in your industry, and specifically RBZ and Security Exchange Commission. And it's a team sport. It will not be something that your organization would be able to do on its own. On some of the research or feasibility, you might need a research or a consulting firm like those in accounting, ICT, and related industries. On the platform, if you are going to use the cloud, you will need your cloud or your IT solutions provider to be on the same page with you. The same with the networking or ISP partner and any other developmental or support services that you may not be able to do internally. So you have to map your needs, the suppliers, what you can do on your own, what you outsource, and all the risk associated with those processes, as always compliance and giving value to your customers. Thank you.
Thank you. I haven't seen Mr. Dube. Oh, there he is. All right. Did you get any of the questions? Okay, yes.
Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, I will attempt to respond on the question on the roads and the other questions. Um, that debate can take us centuries arguing on it, but it's a question about infrastructure. But what is infrastructure? It is the location. So indeed, the infrastructure is a bearing on the value of a property. But it's not only infrastructure that influences the value. But what I will say is when you buy a stand, what are you buying? You are buying a road, you are buying the sewer network, you are buying the water infrastructure. That is the bulk of the money that you pay, which constitutes the value of your property. So you then find that, but you then find that, but what is that we are talking about? The road, the sewer infrastructure, and the water infrastructure. That's the location. So those are the features, the attributes of a particular location. So that's why location tends to influence the value more than other factors. So that's what I can say on that issue. The other thing about GIS measuring gross external area, my response on that one is as follows. What GIS does in property valuation is to give you the data that you need to carry out a evaluation. What information do you need when you are doing evaluation? You need the area. GIS will give you information on infrastructure. You need to know the location. So GIS will tell you all the attributes about the location. So things like internal area or your gross lettable area. That is why I urged practitioners that let's embrace GIS, put that data. So, because for you to know the internal area, you need, as release practitioners who are managing Takura House, put the area for Takura House, put the other details for Takura. GIS alone, GIS is a receiver. You need to put the data. So if you put the data, all the things that you need about internal area, the kind of roofing, whether there is heating and cooling system, those are the things. Those are the things that you need to add. So if you don't feed GIS with that, you don't get it. That's my response on it. So on GIS. Then the other question, which is I think opportunities from these systems. I will give you an example of India. India is an emerging giant in terms of IT. So by advancement of IT, you are creating a new industry, a new line of business. Because developers of softwares, that's you commercialize that. So it creates employment not only for the real estate sector, but for other sectors. So there's a lot of opportunity in research, in the development of industries. I think that's what I can say. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate that. A round of applause to the gentleman for answering our questions. We're now moving on to the final part of, well, not the final, but the final two that are coming through before we actually round up everything for this particular conference for today. Allow me to welcome to the podium, that is Dr. Juru. He's coming through, Dr. Mike Juru, and he's going to be talking about I think is it upscaling or upskilling? I don't know. Upscaling, I'm sure. Yeah, there's a bit of a mess up there. Upscaling and rethinking valuation competencies for the digital landscape. Now, just to give you a little bit background about Dr. Juri, he's the Vice Chairperson of the Valuers Council of Zimbabwe and founder and CEO of the Integrated Properties. He's also the past president of Reiz. Now, he's going to be coming through. I'm sure he's just making sure his presentation can be seen on slide. If we can give him a round of applause as he comes through. That's
okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I have to apologize for Dr. Juru. He couldn't make it. He had some personal problems, so I'll be standing in for him. Okay. Let me just introduce myself. My name is Chinache Chimuto. I'm a valuer with Integrated Properties. Um, I've been in the industry for about 15 years now, and mainly into the valuation sector. So I will try to tackle as much as that you would have wanted for us to present. So the topic here is upskilling and rethinking valuation competencies for the digital landscape. What basically we are saying here is when I say upskilling, we are all practitioners. We are all in the industry. So I'm not going to narrow down on valuations only, but as a real estate industry as a whole, so that I think we capture all the items that can be used. So upskilling, we are saying, basically we're just saying that whatever competencies we are already practitioners, we have been in industry, we have been actually doing valuation for a long time. So what needs to be changed is the industry is changing, things are changing. So we have to change our skills as well as professionals so that we actually are in line with what is happening and the digital landscape that we are in. And then really thinking is what we had learned and what we have been doing, we have to actually change our mindset in terms of how we conduct our valuations, how we conduct the real estate profession as a whole. So I will just delve into a summary of what is I will be covering. So I have to applaud the previous presenters. I think they did most part of my presentation, so it won't be a problem to me to go into details in explaining the digital landscape that we are dealing with. So my presentation will be highlighted as above, is below. I think, do you have a screen there? Yeah, all right. So, all right. So we will go into that's the summary of the presentation. We have the introductions. I will go into the current traditional names that is the industry, the valuation industry that we have at the moment, and then the digital trends so that we unlock what are we talking, what is the digital platform that we are talking about and what need to be done, and then the future calls, and then we conclude. So I'm just, like I indicated, that most of the presenters have done justice in terms of explaining the digital platforms, what needs to be done. So I will just more of summarize going forward. So the digital platform is as an introduction. Real estate is not written in stone. What do we mean by that? As a profession, we operate in a changing environment. So we have to constantly upgrade or alter our thinking and moving forward so that we are in conjunction with the times that we are going. I think as we can all allude to, some years back, clients will just accept any evaluation that you give them or any report that you give them without questioning, and they say, "Boss, the valuer's decision is final." But now the environment that we are operating is, we clients are now they now have knowledge and fundamentals of the property market. So whenever you present or your report or fundamental that you have presented, they are knowledgeable and they will question you. So you have to know that now the clientele that we are dealing with is different from the one that we used to do. So whatever we know, when we say that real estate is a final, if you are presenting a valuation, that's a final because I'm the valuer, that can be contested. So we have to adapt to the changing opportunities and world in this digital era. I'll just give a background of the current norm of valuations that we are doing so that we have a background of where we're coming from and how we then adapt to the digital era. So the current norm or the current evaluation environment or property market environment is that there is face-to-face interaction where you actually interact with the client, do meetings, negotiations, and then we are also relying on physical property inspections, where this is the traditional mode that we have to go physically inspect, measure the buildings, do the actual measurements. That's what is happening at the moment. And then also you can see that we have paper-based transactions. What do you mean? I think some of them is caused by the rigidity in terms of, no offense, the legislations where any transaction has to be written down, signed. Like I think some previous presenter mentioned that these, if it's a sale, it has to be signed, it has to be written, and it has to be actually properly signed with the actual signature. So those are the rigidity in terms of the traditional environment that we are operating in. And then manual transaction evaluations, I think you know that whatever tools that we're using, I think mostly we are relying on Excel, Word documents, where you have to input the data and then you interpret. So there are some shortfalls in terms of this current norm of traditional evaluations. The shortfalls which result into inefficiencies, there's a high risk of error, limited research, exclusion of clients, and sharing of scaling barriers. So what do I mean by inefficiency in terms of the traditional norms? Inefficient is that you're actually capturing and entering the values in we indicated that we are using Excel and others. In example that we're using Excel, you are doing asset valuations. You have to input each and every input, and then use calculation to come up with the value. So there's high risk of that. We have errors. There's consumption and delays, higher costs, and reduced efficiencies. And then inclusion of clients that you're just doing your proper evaluations, you produce a report, and then you send it. And then scaling barriers as compared to the current trend where someone can list properties online or in the digital platform, which we are going to talk about, that the ones which people can list in as many as properties they want, compared to the period that I think a long bank, we used to go to the Herald, list your properties that I would sell. You have a list of properties that you actually go through the process so that you advertise. I think it used to be very hyper in terms of, I think around Thursday or Sunday, everyone wants to put an advert for properties on sale, but things are changing. So what are we saying? The call for the future. The future for real estate provision is to step and adopt technology and adopt the changes that we are having. So in order to adopt the changes, I think the previous speakers have highlighted that there is now GIS, there is now all those platforms they were highlighting that needs to be done. But how do we then get into doing those things? So I will just highlight when they say the future of real estate is on traditional ways. People may say that we trained 20, 40 years ago. Whatever we are doing is giving us results. But are you adapting to what is changing, or the change will change you? So some people will say fix it, but it will eventually come up to you. So what we are saying is now the digital trend. That's what we're saying. Upskilling, rethinking. We have to rethink now. What do we want to do? These speakers were saying we have IGS, we have GIS, we have all these EAIs. How do we now tap into those? What should we be doing as professionals to get into those areas, or to be actually not be irrelevant in these areas? I think like we indicated, there's ESGs. I think one speaker mentioned that we have ESGs, which is environmental processes. And then we have process automation. I think the other speaker explained into depth. What are we saying? We have to automate our systems. We have to get those GIS into as a process of valuations, as a process of management, as a process of data capturing. And then the process of disclosure. I think as we all know that in valuations, we are going to have IVA standards, 2025 International Valuation Standards, which require more exposure. We have to disclose more of how we come up with the value. We have to justify why we came up with the value, including all those residential that we use to say that we can do it on our own. So we have to, if we are digitalized, if we have the information, if we have data, it's easier for us to justify or to come up with the evaluations process. And I think the other presents explained on the data analysis, the drones, and the recent way we can use the drones to go and do inspections. We use artificial intelligence to actually process the information. So what does this call for? I think this is not working. What does this call for? I think the theme for this workshop is that is the future of the real estate industry in the digital era. So when you're saying about upskilling and rethinking, I think there are a few areas that we have highlighted, which we need actually for our mindset to actually think towards the digital platforms and how are we going to operate on these digital platforms. We have to understand how to use digital tools. So what are we saying? We have to start thinking of how do we use those digital tools? What should we be doing as professionals to use those digital tools? So we now need to invest on the digital skills. I think starting from, I think one of the gentlemen was saying about the curriculum, so that we include this part of the digital platform in terms of the curriculum, so that people understand, or whoever are coming, they know that what should be done. How do you use the GIS? How do you use the drones? How do you use all these platforms? Then, as professionals already practicing, we can also advance in IT training. I think most of companies don't want to invest into developing or skills or employees that they have. So we have to start learning about advanced technologies like blockchain, property transaction, to revolutionize the transaction record keeping. I think this has been mentioned way and way that we need to have platforms and methodologies of handling these big data handling tools, and then the IAs for the data analysis. You know, doing evaluation or doing a property analysis, having an AI, it doesn't take much time, and it gives you more of an accurate answer in terms of your analysis, in terms of coming up with a value or coming up with this analysis. And then we have the visual tools, visual argumentative skills. So we have to start learning about how do you do visual tools, how do you learn. So these are areas that we should start investing, so that we actually are not left behind in this digital platform. And how do we get into those digital platforms? I think the gap is widening. These young kids are more of computer class or techno class. They come in with new technologies, they take over the industry before we even do anything wrong. And then security protocols, I think understanding the fundamentals of cybersecurity to protect sensitive client information and transaction. As we are moving like from the filing systems, now going platform, we have to know how do we protect the data? What should we be doing? So we have to also learn into those areas. And then legal compliance. I think our legislation should actually push to prioritize the adoption of the legal platform and how it incorporates professions in getting into the digital platforms. I'm sure there is now, what do you call it, compulsory reporting of sustainability for the films. So, as professionals, we have to jump into that market. Because these are new valuations, so we have to know what is sustainable valuation. What should we be doing as professional? Where do we come in as professional, and how do we tap into that? And so, like I was saying, that we have to rethink. Traditional valuations was just say you take this property valuation, you do this investment method, you come up with your value, and that's done. But now you have to incorporate certain aspects, different aspects. You have to analyze each and every aspect of the valuation. You have to. I think some previous years back we used to say if it's a residential, you just use comparables. You don't have to explain the adjustment you have done to come up with a value and those so as professionals or as valuers we have to get into digital literacy and technology proficiency. That is we are saying encourage a mindset shift towards continual learning and adapting new technologies. I think I have reiterated this. And then in data analysis management, where we're saying that we now need to know how do you analyze data, how would you use AIs to actually interpret the data for us and have that skill so that we are not actually behind. And then the other process is now visual augmented reality. I think I have gone through this. And cybersecurity, we mentioned that as we are actually going into the digital world, we have to make sure that we are secure and we have data privacy and our data is protected. Because as much as the digital platform is good, it has its weaknesses where data can be manipulated, and actually we lose as professionals. And then the last one is that there's what we call sustainability and technological integration. This is in terms of how we should be thinking. The world is going through sustainable transformation. Everything that we do, every process that we do, we are looking at how sustainable it is. The first speaker, I think, talked about sustainability. If anything that you are going to do right now, you have to look at the factors of sustainability. I think you mentioned that even if you are looking at evaluation, if there's some degradation or some contamination, that means the value of that property can be lower. So we have to now see on these digital platforms, where are we fitting in? What should we be doing in terms of that digital platform, in terms of how in our products, in our thinking, how are we now fitting into the sustainability part of it? If be it valuation, we are now talking about sustainable valuation. If it's property management, we are talking about green leasing. We are now incorporating the green part. If it's construction, we are talking about sustainable green construction, where we have to look what is the impact of to the environment. How are we going to manage as we are getting into this presentation? So I think in conclusion, my topic is upskilling, and rethinking. We have to change our mindset. We are professionals. We have to change our mindset. So we have to look into how do we integrate into this digital platform. I'll give you a closing example. I'm sure we all know about Nokia. Nokia was actually one of the best technological company. They never did anything wrong, but they were overtaken by events. Technology came in. They refused to integrate with Android, and they were overtaken. We have Kodak. I'm not trying to scare you. Kodak was the best film manufacturing company. What happened? Samsung came in with new information, different thinking ways of thinking, and different level of skill, and they took over the market. But for their products, they never did whatever is wrong. So what we are saying is, even if you are seasoned, even if you are a big company, events can come and overtake you when you're actually doing the proper thing, but you are not moving with the times. So it's either you move in or you sink. I think that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Tinashe Chimuto was representing Dr. Mike Juru. Thank you so much, Tinashe. We appreciate that presentation. We'll be hearing your questions regarding this one. Our next one coming up, we also have a representative. Labmo Babasa will be standing in and representing Stephen Kapfunde, who was not able to be with us, but the presentation will go on. And the topic is the changing roles of stores, a look at retail spaces in a post-digital world. If we can give him a round of applause. Hello, how are you?
Thanks. Thank you. Good afternoon. I will write on the protocols which have already been observed and go straight into my presentation. So before I go in, I will start by apologizing on behalf of Mr. Stephen Kapfunde. He was due to present to you today, but because of unforeseen and pressing situations, he couldn't make it. But I will try to fit in his big shoes and try to do justice to the topic he had chosen to present at this conference. So maybe from my opening remarks would be to say, based on the presentation that I've been listening from the start of this conference, technology is quite key. And I think we can all align and agree that we need to align and try to embrace technology. So my presentation will be, I'll start with a basic introduction, then I'll try to also then get into the details of how retail shops have evolved globally, responding to the digitalization. And also I would speak to the rise of omni-channel integration. And then before I draw the topic closer to home, where we try to discuss what had happened in Zimbabwe. Then I will leave you with a bit of food for thought in terms of outlook, what we really need to do as the practitioners, as business leaders, in wherever we might be placed. So maybe by way of definition, what is the post-digitalization? So this is just a simple period which came after the widespread use of digital and technology. What has this does to the retail space? We have noted that there's been a shift or a transformation in terms of how shops in retail space have been operating as a result of digitalization. Also look at what happened post-COVID. I think COVID-19, we all agree that it taught us a big lesson, especially in the real estate industry, to say people can do with very minimum or little space than the usual before the COVID-19. So because of that experience, we noted that even the shoppers, they are no longer keen on going physically to the shops. But I'm not saying this will make the space in the retail space redundant. My view is that space will remain relevant, especially as the distribution channel. You also see in my presentation, I had some case that I took time to look at Nike. You see the numbers, how they are driving their sales online. Then just a few statistics. According to SkyQuest Technology, 15% of total sales in retail space are being done online. And the CAGR forecast, that is the growth in 10 years, not in 10 years, in 2030, they expect it to have grown by 29%. So colleagues, moving on in terms of how retail shops are evolving as a result of digital world, we note that there are trends which have been upcoming. We have seen the coming up of touchscreen kiosks. We've also seen mobile payments coming to the front. We also saw customer service being done even by the artificial intelligence. So in terms of impact on the retail space, obviously, given all this which is happening, you would note that there would be pressure in terms of occupants of space. The occupiers of space will demand less space, which means they might be need to resize or downsize. What does this do to the rental? It will come up with the pressure on the rentals because the tenants will now have a competitive advantage over the providers of space. So in terms of impact, this is what I'm saying. Then from the next slide, I then gave you a case start for Nike e-commerce, the net sales. This is from 2014 to 2024, where they started in 2014 at 1.1 billion in terms of revenue, which were driven by online sales. But in 2024, as we speak, they are around 14.2, which is quite a significant growth over the years. And this speaks to how people are now moving to these online platforms. And people go on social media for different reasons. Some, they want to get new ideas, to see how things are happening, new products. So I think it's also up to us. I know in Zimbabwe we might be a bit backward in terms of accepting technology, but I'm happy that we chose this theme as an industry. It means that we are aware that technology is the future, and we really need to embrace it. And also online sales are also giving people experiments from transactional. You would notice that technology has also empowered the consumers with information. And also retailers are also responding by creating some interactive platforms. I also am biased towards Nike. They also created what they call an experiential store, where customers can actually go online and interact and giving the buyers experience. Thank you. So I will move on. And I'm now speaking to the rise of omnichannel integrations. I think despite the growth, like I said, of online purchases which are happening, the view is that the space will remain relevant, but obviously maybe on a lower scale. They will remain relevant in terms of being the distribution channels. So maybe trying to link it to Zimbabwe, how have we seen it coming to Zimbabwe in terms of digital world? We have seen the fast foods embarking on direct delivery, and I think this has worked for them. This is one form of embracing technology. And we have also noted the traditional retailers, your OK, Zimbabwe, your Pick and Pay, they are also focusing on online purchases through their click and collect. And also in the market, we have noted pop-up stores and online shopping has become also a thing in the hardware space, where electro sales, your households are also focusing much on this. So maybe as a conclusion, what do we do now? This is what I came up with as an outlook or a way forward. We don't want to be caught by surprise as the real estate practitioners, and I think we really need to put on our thinking heads and see how can we embrace the technology and try to be future fit, because in the near future, as we proceed, we will all agree that technology will. The last presenter said it's either you embrace or you sink. So we really need to embrace technology. So what am I saying for the developers? We know we have developers in the room. We now need to come up with products which speak to or which can adapt to technology as it come across, especially coming up with the virtual reality showrooms. This will give experience which I have presented earlier. For example, what is happening with Nike. We also need to come up with ideas of digital malls, which integrate, which have integrating platforms where customers can actually interact in terms of what they are really looking for. And smart buildings, I cannot overemphasize, this has been spoken about by previous speakers. We also need innovation hubs. I think for us to then embrace, there's need for research. So how do we do it? We need to come up and promote our startups, the incubators. These are the startups which come up with ideas. We need dreamers. So we need to support the innovation space through supporting innovation hubs. So as I conclude, I just want to give you a quote I got from John Chambers of Cisco. There's a focus which is saying at least 40% of all businesses, not just retail, all businesses, including ours who are in here present, will die in the next 10 years if they don't figure out how to change their entire organization to accommodate new technology. So this is food for thought. We need to really think about it. It might be, it's not yet here, but trust me, in the near future, we will then realize 40%. The previous speaker have given you examples of those who have failed because of failing to embrace or to live with technology. So this can happen to all of us. We really need to focus and embrace technology, do the research, and apply it where we, in our areas of expertise. This is my presentation. Thank you.
Final plenary session. We'll be taking questions again. If you have any questions, you just simply raise your hand. We'll bring the mic to you. Are there any questions from our last two speakers? Yes, we do have the two at the back there. At the back, right side, which is yeah, on this side, on the right side.
Thank you. My I've got two questions. The first presenter after lunch, is there a difference between valuation methods and digitization? And is there any affordable, say, a system or some technology which can then be
upskilled, such technology which may be available maybe online on the valuation side. Then on the future of stores, is there a future for the physical store or physical space, retail space? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. My question goes to the first presenter who presented on behalf of Mr. Jur. The question is, in terms of digitization on the valuation side, can we fully replace the human being as far as considering that the evaluation needs to be certified by a registered valuer, regardless of the jurisdiction that you are operating from. The question would be to say, these platforms which do automated valuations, if it misleads people, who do we hold accountable? I was reading somewhere where they said that in the UK they've got a platform called Zoopla, which has been criticized for giving maybe wrong estimates and so forth. Thank you.
Okay. Any other question? Or we only have those two? Okay, so we'll start off with Mr. Tinashe Chimoto. I don't know where he's sitting. Yes, if he can answer. And then we'll move on to Mr. Lovemo Mabasa. He's at the back.
Right, thank you. I think the first question was mentioning is there is any difference between valuation methodology and digitalization, if I got that correct. All right. What I say is methodology remains a methodology because we are governed by international valuation standards, which gives us how to conduct valuations. But digitalization is now a tool which we use to make the valuation process efficient and accurate. I think I would have answered that. And then on the valuation, on the second question, where one was saying, do we replace the human factor? Valuation is both in the art and the science. So the technical part is the one which is answered or which is made efficient by using AIs. But at the end of the day, we need professional judgment, one who rectifies all the ones who science. So there will still be a human input even if we use technology. And then someone indicated that there are some models that we can use. I think there are now valuation models, though I'm not sure how efficient or accurate are they, but some countries are now using valuation models to actually systemize their valuation processes. Thank you.
Okay. And then the other question was going to Mr. Lovemo Mabasa. It's right there.
Thank you for the question. The question is there future for physical space? So my response would be that yes, there is future for physical space, but there would be pressure in terms of demand, which means it will be on a lower scale in terms of demand for retail space. And that's where I said we really need for new products to then come up with ideas and creative ways of doing it to incorporate technology. And I think you have also noted here in Zimbabwe that the modern trends of shopping malls have moved away from the traditional ones. The upcoming new ones which are seeing being constructed are more of strip malls. It's also speaking to that fact. So yes, the future is there, but obviously the demand will be depressed. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much. So we want to, before we actually come to the end of our conference, we want to come up with resolutions that you think Reiz should take into consideration. They will be taking your notes down so that they can actually try and implement them as well. And it's what we're taking home. So is there anything that you'd like the Institute to take note of? Suggestions, resolutions? Shagaringana. Yes, sir.
I think maybe in this digital era, I think we expect also the institute to be more digital. I think as members and also as students, we're expecting to have a portal where you can log in with your student account. You can see your CPD hours, everything that you are writing, whether you're an associate, everything is on the portal. So I think in this digital era, we are expecting also the institute to move also time.
Okay, they've taken note of that. Yes, sir.
Thank you. I am of the opinion that realtors should join hands with the government efforts to digitize the whole property registration system so that at the click of a button, we get municipal detail, deeds office, survey, town planning, etc. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, we've got two on this side, on the right side.
Thank you. So I'll just add on to what the last contributor has shared. What's critical for Reiz as an institute at this point in time is to have a clear-cut action plan on the who's, how, when such critical activities to the engage.
Okay, let me just get you another mic. It's coming through.
Thank you. So it's clear that we definitely need to engage the government or the policymakers on certain key things, especially to manage our information systems such as the deeds registry and combine everything into layers of information similar to how GIS functions. So to get that done, I think it's important for Reiz to actually come up with a strategic or a key deliverable plan with options and action plans. That is something that can be measurable, so that next year we are not yet at a nicer venue and discussing the same thing again, so that we can actually track progress as a fraternity on how we are implementing these suggestions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Also, maybe just to add to what a Blessing is saying, we have to standardize our data. Maybe I know there's a Standards Association of Zimbabwe standards for measuring. Like, what do we mean by gross lettable area, net lettable area, things like that. Maybe when somebody is taking data on, say, a residential house, what do you mean by roof covering? So that as this data is uploaded into the systems, it means almost maybe the same thing, such that the next person can then rely on that data. Thank you.
Okay. That has been taken note of. Anyone else or? Yes, sir.
Thank you. I think pretty much as what was said by the previous speaker. But I thought at Reiz, I think in future conferences, we can therefore invite some of these government departments. We talk of the deeds office, the surveyor general, so that we complement each other. Some of the things we were talking about, maybe they are currently doing something about it, but to hear it from them, I think it would be more important to hear from them in this kind of conferences. Thank you.
My suggestion to raise is can they engage some ESG specialists in developing the industry relevant software and standardize such for use in our sector? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is that all? All right. I guess that's it. Did I leave anyone else? Yes, sir.
In view of green buildings concept.
Sorry, ma'am. Yes, you can carry on.
I'm saying in view of green buildings concept, as realtors, we should push for the architects to come up with energy efficient buildings with all the attributes of green buildings from the design, so that by end of construction, all is attained that is wished for in terms of green buildings. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I'm not so sure how to put it, but maybe it's a concern. When you're done with your license yet, some of the people who have been given their licenses, they are not allowed to practice because they'll be working. For instance, in our midst, we have got a licensed member, but Arkunzi, you cannot become an agent because urkushanda for government. At least kuti panga gadziriswe will say papa. Because the whole point of you going to school is for you to make more money after what license. Zvinokanzi zvone auchaiti because ushanda government and this was young. Maybe I just need some clarification on that.
Okay. We've got one on your right.
Okay, sister. I think on like that point, you have to approach the two professional bodies, which is the Evaluators Council and the EAC. With our Reiz, it's simply an academic body. It might not assist much, but those two, they will assist you. Thank you.
We have the gentleman, I think that's Mr. Dube, isn't it?
Thank you very much for that question. I'm not trying to usurp from the EAC chairman, but I will try to help you to respond. So the regulation is, if you want to practice as an estate agent, I understand you have already met the other requirements for registration. So for you to practice, there's no way you can be working in two firms as a principal agent. You are working at the Ministry of Local Government and you want to work for two estate agents. It's not possible. You are even exposing yourself by doing that. Trust money, the abuse, the regulation, the monitoring that you are supposed to be doing, you are not there at the Ministry of Local Government. So how does the regulator allow you to practice under such circumstances? So that will be my response. I don't mean to be rude, but you can't be serving two masters at the same time. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Dube, for that. So I think those are the resolutions that you'll have to take, and we've taken note of them. We appreciate that. Well, we've come to the end of our program for today. And just to give you a little bit of an update, tomorrow we do have our gala that will be happening, the dinner. And just to remind you that it is a black tie event. It will be happening at 6:30 in the... sponsors that came through, and we want to say thank you so much for making it happen. Without you, this would not have been possible. Our platinum sponsors include Econet. We also have Mashonaland Holdings, Knight Frank, Oyster, and Old Mutual. They made this possible with the live streaming, the t-shirts, the caps, the notepads, and coming through for sponsorship. We also want to thank the rest of our sponsors that came through as well. We definitely appreciate your support, and it definitely goes a long way in making the event happen. Let me just get the names so that I do not leave anyone out. It's very important that I say thank you to everyone, especially our sponsors, for making it happen. So just to be precise, we've got Mashonaland Holdings, we did talk about them, EPG Global, Robot Root, Great Zimbabwe Realtors, we also have Property Wise, Rehoboth, Oasis Realty, Econet, Wealth Care, Knight Frank, Old Mutual, Integrated Properties, Derrydon Properties, and Oyster Real Estate. Thank you so much for being part of this beautiful event. I'm sure he's still here. You can come through. And Mr. Majindu, please come through as well. We have gifts for you to say thank you so much for coming through today. We appreciate it. Mr. Dube, Mama Chinjango. Don't you get Ma'am and sir, maybe if you can come through to the front, would appreciate if you can hand over the gifts. These were part of our speakers for today's conference and for the winter school, and we definitely appreciate their expertise and coming through with their knowledge so that we can get to improve ourselves in this particular industry. That's the reason why we hold these particular winter schools. So we can start off. You can come through, ma'am. Yes. A round of applause for Mr. Muzamweze. Thank you so much, sir, for coming through and giving your expertise. If you can also face the camera for a picture. A round of applause for Mr. Dube. Thank you so much for coming today with your expertise as well. As the Mr. Dube and Gunok about my picture, so I'm going to say one. And finally, as well, but not least, Mr. Majindu for coming through and giving his expertise. Thank you so much. We appreciate that. Allow me to invite the Vice President of the Real Estate Institute of Zimbabwe, Mrs. Joylene Murekachiro, to come through and give us the vote of thanks. A round of applause.
Afternoon to you all. Ish, you sound very, very tired. Good afternoon to you all. That's much better. Thank you so much. Mine is a very easy task. I'm just here to say thank you so much. Just to appreciate you for making this day a success. I would like to appreciate our guest of honor in absentia for making it for the event, for gracing this occasion. We don't take it lightly. We know her schedule is very busy, but she managed to accommodate us. We also want to appreciate our speakers for a job well done. The presentations and the discussions, they were very insightful. We are always learning every time. They say the moment you cease to learn, you become extinct. So it's very necessary for us to keep learning. I would also want to appreciate our members, each and every one of you, for putting your all to ensure that you are here for our winter school and the AGM. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. And to the Reiz board, I would also want to appreciate you, our president, and all the board members for being behind the scenes, ensuring that all is in order for this particular event. Thank you so much. And then to our secretariat, those that have been running behind the scenes, probably if you can stand up, the SG and your team, wherever you are, if you are within the house, so that people can get to appreciate you. There is Mr. Mshatuta and the ladies, I think they're outside the tent. If we can just give them a round of applause for the job well done. Thank you so much. And to our MC, usually you are the last person to be recognized and appreciated. We really appreciate you for the job well done. Thank you so, so much. To everyone, probably there are some that I have left out. Please feel appreciated. All of you have played a major role in ensuring that this event has been a success. Thank you so much. And just a brief reminder to all the members, we have our AGM at 5 p.m. sharp. So just ensure that you are by this venue by 5 p.m. for the AGM. Thank you so much. Have a refreshing evening. Thank you.